chapters or later videos. But for the moment, we're going to tell the browser that we can successfully send the page. So then again, we're going to pass in an object. Now the object will have the key along with the value. Text plain. Now I'm going to show you two interesting stuff in here. Let me copy this function and let me paste this. Now I'm going to change this object. First, let's have a look without the HTML one. First, let us try out by using the plain text or text/plain content type. Then we are going to send in some sort of message to the browser. Let's write, this is a simple node server. Let's finish this off. And then we have got the port, and I'm going to discuss about that port in a little while, but let's now run this code. Okay, now we need to run this. Remember that we need to run our server through our terminal. So wherever you have placed your project, or wherever you have placed your this file, this JavaScript file, you need to open that directory through your terminal and then write node simple server.js. Now we have the server running successfully. Now if you're really confused about where you have placed that where you have placed your script, then if you're using Aptena Studio like me, then click on that project, click on the current project, right click, then show in, go to show in, and then finder. And this will show you where you have placed your code and scripts. So I can see that I have placed that inside a folder called JS, which has the parent folder called web. So through that, you can navigate through into your terminal and start over this server. Now you see something interesting in here is that it has got the message server running, which is telling us that the server is running successfully. Now if you look at the script, we have the same message running. We have written that using our console.log. Now why did we do that? Is that necessary? It's not that it's a necessity, but it is like a standard requirement if you are just a beginner, or you want some sort of confirmation message even if you're not a beginner. The reason behind is that whenever you run your server through your terminal, if you do not have that, your Node application will be running, but you won't understand if it's running successfully or not, or is it throwing any sort of error. It's not going to show you anything except that if it encounters any sort of errors. But you might have some sort of weird problems, and your node system might not show that to you. So it's better to provide some sort of message or some sort of confirmation, so that when your server is running, whenever your server is running successfully, it will show you some sort of affirmative message. That's why I have included that. And then this message will be shown on the console or the terminal. So it's showing me on my terminal, and this one is shown on the web page. Now let us have a look at the web page. Let's open up the browser. I'm using Mozilla Firefox. You can just use Safari or Chrome. Then let's bring up, and now here we go. So our node server is running successfully, and because our server is running successfully, we can actually send in a request to the server, and then the server successfully sends us the page, or it successfully sends us, because we are not dealing with pages, it successfully sends us a simple message to us. But in terms, you can actually send in a page by yourself. So this response.end is not a function of this response object. It's not a method of this response object that will only, that's only responsible for displaying this message on the browser. It's not a function to display messages. It's not a function that just like the print or printf function. If you've worked with PHP, it's not a function like println in Java if you have worked with Java, but it's a function that does more, that has got more story in it. So we should look into what it has got. The response is essentially the part that the server is handling. The request is the part which the request object is which the browser is handling. So whenever I type in this address might look funny to you, but I'll be explaining why it looks like that. So when you type that address and hit enter, you are actually sending a request to the simple server. So your request object is being triggered whenever you hit enter by typing in the address. Then the server, this simple server, receives that request as a response. Receives that request and sends in some sort of response. Sorry for that. Some sort of response. So after the request has been initiated, the response is also initiated by the browser. So when the browser receives the request, it's going to look into the request, and our server, we are not actually writing any sort of code that's looking into the request, but as we go along, we'll develop this application and we'll see how to use the request object. But let us first finish off with this response object. Now this response object is bringing up, or it's calling the write-head method. This write-head method informs the browser that we have got the page, so prepare yourself to format the page as a plain text